Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello.
I'm so glad that everyone could join us today. My name is Ivan Contreras. I'm project manager with the marketing team here at Kickstarter. We know how busy you are, and we really appreciate you making the time to be here today. Uh, so this is our first official office hours for games creators. We're super excited. This will be more of an informal session uh, than our normal webinars. So it's designed to help you navigate the ins and outs of running a successful games campaign. Our head of games, Asher McClennahan, will be answering your questions, whether you're gearing up to launch soon or already in the middle of your campaign. So I'll go here. So before we get started, I'm just going to run through some housekeeping. This session is being recorded, and you'll get a copy once it's over. Please keep your microphone on mute. You don't have to turn your camera on, though we would love to see your face. So if you do want to turn it on, feel free. And if you have questions, please use the Q&A box that should be on the bottom right-hand corner of your Zoom toolbox. You can upvote questions there if what someone asks interests you as well. And we'll try to get through as many questions as we can in the next hour that we have together. So here is how things will work today. So we'll start with some pre-submitted questions that we got, especially focusing on marketing and pre-launch. And then Asher will do a live review of a few pre-launch pages that were submitted in advance. And after that, we'll cover the rest of the submitted questions that we received and answer any additional questions submitted through the Q&A box. So with that, I'll pass it over to Asher.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Really appreciate it. And thank you all for hanging out with me for the next hour or so. So I'm Asher. I am the head of games here. You can read all of this, but the long story short is my friends and I started a company 5, 6 years ago now called Alchemy RPG. It's just a place to play our tabletop role playing games online, and I through that I ran 3 Kickstarters. Had an incredible experience. It literally changed my life, and I made a ton of really big mistakes that ended up being costly, and I have sort of learned the hard way. And I'm excited to speak with you all about your campaigns so that hopefully you can learn a little bit from me about what not to do and what to do now that I've done it a few times. And it is the primary use of my time is talking about Kickstarter. So, and campaigns with folks. I think we have a bunch of really great questions to get to, and some pre-launch pages and some Kickstarter pages to look at. We can look at live if we have time, but please feel free, ask questions. I have the chat open. I've got the Q&A open. I will do everything that I can to keep track of everything, and Yvonne, I'm sure will help me do that as well. So I think let's just get into it to maximize our time here. So the first question that I have up is, what are effective strategies, including pre-launch and pricing, to generate $500,000 in crowdfunding, other than $1 VIP funnels? This is a really great question. So I know $1 VIP funnels really controversial. I think it is up to you whether or not you use them. They are not a prerequisite to having a $500,000 or $1 million campaign. There are lots of campaigns that do not take this approach that do very well. Now, that said, if you are doing the $1 VIP campaign, it works well. But it's just not something that you have to do. So when I think about the sort of levers that you have to promote effectively, they really kind of boil down to a couple of different things. When I look at the top 50, 100 games campaigns of all time on Kickstarter, One thing that they all, generally speaking, have in common, and this is probably not something that you were expecting me to say, is they all have an average pledge value between $80 and $135, roughly. Some go way over, some are a little bit less. But that average pledge value at that size gives you an opportunity to sort of maximize your dollar efficiency with backers. And so, like, if you can provide something really valuable in that space, that average pledge value of $80 to $135, you're off to a great start. Instead of in addition to that, so we have this sort of pricing structure, psychology, that we can talk more about if we have more questions about it. But when we look at like pre-launch strategy, a $500,000 campaign is quite a bit. I think I would anticipate somebody that's looking to have a $500,000 campaign to have more structured like marketing budget and ad spend. And I think every product is very, very different. So for some products, influencer relationships and engaging them for your launch is really useful. For some, it's not. So, like we used some really wonderful influencers at Alchemy RPG, and I just didn't have a bunch of success with them. But I know that there are others who have great success with influencers. So I think what it boils down to is you have a series of levers, and you're going to know your audience better than anybody, like better than any advice that I can give you. You will know the group of people that you are marketing towards or that this game is for, what speaks to them. It could be that they're on Facebook and Instagram, so meta ads are a great way to get in front of them because your creatives are really strong and encapsulate what you're trying to do in one singular image. For others, maybe it is, working with a content creator to get a video made or something like that, or a sponsored post, SpawnCon, if you will. So I think there are lots of different ways to do it, but I will say that generally speaking, the most common thread that I see is an average pledge value on those $500,000 campaigns. Let's see here. How to maximize exposure of my campaign to Kickstarter's audience? That's another great question. So, as you are building your pre-launch followers, make sure that you have you are taking all of the motions to engage with people as best you can on the platform. So, when we look at uh, a campaign that's live, I'm I don't have all the secrets to the Kickstarter algorithm. This is not some Illuminati post or webinar where you're going to get all the secret sauce to get on the front page of Kickstarter. But what I can say is that we have developed the algorithm that helps you discover campaigns, helps backers discover campaigns a lot over the past 17 years. And it is much more holistic than I thought it was before I joined. If you are doing the things that are right for backers, the things that backers really enjoy, and that they say to Kickstarter, this is important to us, um, you are giving yourself the best opportunity to show up to our audience. I am sure that there will be a question about like projects we love. The games team does have a form for projects we love that you can fill out. We have an editorial team that looks through campaigns on the site, but you can also submit a request for us to view that. To view your project and consider it for projects we love. We have a form that you can fill out. We'll make sure that you're able to send that or see that before this webinar is over, or we can make sure that you get access to it afterwards. But really, engage your audience, engage your backers in comments, post updates, do the things that backers want to see you do, and you will be doing the best that you can. How to consistently promote Kickstarter throughout the duration of the campaign without overwhelming your audience. Fatigue is real. I'm sure that you all have seen an ad for a campaign that's live that is just, you've seen it a million times. Retargeting is a big deal in Kickstarter campaigns. And sometimes I think some people can over-index towards retargeting. So the reality is, when we talk about this from a paid ads perspective, generally speaking, once people convert, and they officially become your audience, they're going to stop getting those ads or they're going to get them much less. And so you don't need to worry about overwhelming them too much. I would say, again, with paid ads, pay really close attention to your ROAS, your return on ad spend. If it starts creeping up, if you're spending more dollars and you're just not getting quite the same return that you used to on those dollars spent, dial it back. There is a degree of market saturation that you can hit where people just won't engage with your ads anymore, or they won't engage in the way that you're expecting them to. So pay really, really close attention to the signals that you're getting in all of your promotion channels, right? So, like, if you have cultivated your audience on Instagram or Reddit or TikTok or wherever, or via email, pay really close attention to things like open rate for email, engagement metrics on Instagram, upvotes and comments on Reddit, right? Like, pay really close attention to your heuristics. Every audience is different. They're all going to respond differently to different things. There aren't necessarily any rules of thumb that I would encourage you to check out. But what I would say is, you know your audience. Pay really, really, really close attention to how they are engaging um, with that content that you're posting. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? How to promote effectively in the pre-launch phase. Whew, there's so many different ways to approach this, but again, you're going to know your audience. So the first thing that I tell people is the moment that you show this game to other people, you are marketing to your pre-launch audience. When it's a pen and paper prototype, you are marketing to an audience. You're getting feedback from those people. Those early playtesters and even those later playtesters are a huge audience for you. They're going to be the people that are most excited about your product because they are so intimately intertwined with the development of that product. So when you ask for their feedback, when you go to playtesting events, a proto spiel or an unpub or something like that, when you go to those events, uh, not only should you be getting feedback from them, and I would encourage you to formalize it, do like a form of some kind, get their email address and ask them if they actually want to be kept in the know about like the progress of your game. Getting the first email is really hard because it's just vulnerable to put yourself out there like that. So the first email is really hard. Getting your first 100 is really hard because you're testing. You're just trying a bunch of different things. Again, everybody has a platform that works a little bit better for them, right? So when I look like for tabletop role playing, for example, like if we look at something like a Borg product that has like a really interesting layout and is very flashy, that's probably going to do pretty well on something like an Instagram, where it's like highly visual medium. There's a lot of bright colors. It's very attention grabby. If it's something like items or accessories or like a supplement for 5e, Reddit's a great place for that because you can share free content with people on Reddit and they can respond. And the 5e community on Reddit is huge. And you know, sometimes if it's like a board game that you have like a pretty well fleshed out prototype, right? It's TikTok. You can show videos of it. So everywhere is different. Every pre-launch strategy is different, but you just have to A/B test everything. Like everything you do should be sort of scientific in a way when you're doing pre-launch because you want to know what works, right? If you're consistently putting out there that you need to be really focused, you've decided that you really need to be focused on Reddit or something like that, then you might be missing out on an opportunity because another platform would do better. Okay, I'll do one more question and then let's look at some live campaigns and I'll give a little bit of feedback on those. Let's see here. Huh. Do you think it's viable to launch a Kickstarter without the support of Launchboom, Jellup, etc.? Any tips for going it alone without them? Yes, 100%. It's perfectly viable to launch a Kickstarter without the support of Launchboom and Jellup. I think the functional reality is that like a company like Launchboom, if any of you have used Launchboom or read the reviews, They're really interesting because they help you understand a lot of the fundamentals of crowdfunding that you might not be aware of if it's your first campaign. So, like most of the people that I talk to, who really recommend Jellup, they say like, if it, or I'm sorry, Launch Boom. They say if it's your first Kickstarter, it's great if you can afford it. Um, I will say that that doesn't mean it's impossible to do. There are so many free resources out there. My team is here, games at kickstarter.com. We are here to help you launch your first campaign. I'll say um, you can do it for free. There are going to be a lot of people who talk to you about advertising, and a lot of people say, like, oh, you have to use a company to do paid ads. And you don't. It's another thing that you have to learn. You might be feeling a little overwhelmed with everything that you have going on, so it might be worth paying somebody to do the paid ads. But the functional reality is that it is perfectly reasonable for you to be able to figure out paid ads yourself. Your audience might not be quite as mature as somebody like a Jellup who's spent years honing what the audience is that they're targeting. But that doesn't mean that you can't be effective. I've seen lots of people be very effective running their own ads. I've seen new creators do it, and I've seen creators who have been in it for quite some time do it as well. Okay. We will get back to those if we can towards the end here. I wanted to look at a couple of pre-launch pages. Some of you guys submitted pre-launch pages for us to have a look at, and I would love to do that. Those of you who submitted them previously, what's are you in here right now? I would love to look at your project, I guess. Um, so feel free if you want to post a campaign, I will pull it up. Um, oh, Starfinder Afterlight. Albert, I'm very excited about this one. I have been paying close attention. Um, let's look at this one because it is really a great example of a page. Um, Rob, Time Weavers, I'll give yours a look too here in a moment. Okay, let me share my screen. Oh, this is sharing my whole screen. Stop share. Allow. Okay, it wouldn't let me pick a specific window. Google Chrome. Fantastic. Can you guys see this? Good. Okay. I am assuming the answer is yes. Fantastic. Thank you, Harry. Okay, rad. So let's look. I think that this, from a creative's perspective, really, really great example of um, putting really intriguing key art into your page without overwhelming. This sort of key art or hero art, as it is sometimes referred to, can be really important. It's the first step to um, getting people interested in your project, and so this is a really good one. It's got good colors. I love what you did with the Project We Love badge. It's like a little bit different. I think it's really fascinating. And it's interesting. It grabs people's attention. They're like, oh, what is that? I've never seen that before. Having a teaser trailer at the top of a pre-launch, really good. Wish listing on Steam. I love that, with this many followers, it's clear that there was a very clear decision. And this is important for all video games out there. I would really take this in mind. It's clear that Epic Tellers has been pushing people to the Kickstarter page and then is encouraging them to go wish list on Steam. There's a really good reason to do that. Wish lists on Steam in the video game industry is like something that people talk about a lot. It's a metric that's important. We want to make sure that's a big number, and it can easily grow to be very, very large. I think the difference is when we're crowdfunding a video game campaign, we get into this problem. And that problem is that it's really hard to engage people that are doing a Steam wish list. Like people will wish list a little bit more readily than they will hit notify me on Kickstarter. So your conversion is a little bit lower, and Steam really limits the amount of engagement that you could get with that wish list audience. So when we look at a funnel, when we're looking at our marketing funnel for a video game crowdfunding campaign, I think it's very important that we focus on getting people into funnels that convert really well to the Kickstarter campaign page. And that is not necessarily always the case when we look at like a wish list, because again, it's really hard to get a hold of them. But like on a pre-launch page, ostensibly, Epic Tellers could now post an update to all 4,670 followers. That's a new feature as of last week. Thank you, development team. You can now post an update that will go to all of those followers and say, hey, wishlist this on Steam. It would really make a big difference. And that's another step that people are taking down your conversion funnel. But since they're already captured on Kickstarter, we know that they're going to convert between 20 and 40-ish%, generally speaking. So love that we have a teaser here. Love that we have a wish list. I love this graphic is really good. Okay, so love the way that you're positioning this graphic, Albert, because I think it's really important. Lots of campaigns do mostly images over text in their campaigns, and that's less than stellar for accessibility, but it does create a huge amount of immersion for people that are looking at the campaign page. And you do a great job of doing some really subtle things here. Like we have these screenshots that pop out from the side, but then also there's this sort of like cyber, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse, but there's this very like mechanical element that exists that's like very common in like sci-fi. There's these kind of indents on the page all the way down. That's really cool, and it's very unique and important because it adds a lot of immersion. Oh, and then this folds down into this ghosted image. That's really great. I love that. Into and notify me on launch, encouraging people to take that step. So I'd say we have these really great headlines. It's very, very clear what is happening in this campaign. Your crew, your story, party-based RPGs. If I'm just skimming this, Master Starfinder 2E, perfect. So like I know I'm going to capture all of the Starfinder audience or people that are Starfinder curious, build your legendary team. So there's like this degree of customizability that exists. And welcome to the Pact Worlds. I know a little bit about the environment, the world that it's set in, and no wrong answers. Really, really good from a verbiage perspective. You can tell that this game is locked in terms of they know their audience, they know what they're after, and they know what to say to them. And so I think this is a really great example of a campaign that is doing the right things on the campaign and pre-launch story page to make sure that they're encouraging the audience to make good make good make good choices, notifying them on Kickstarter for the campaign. Okay. Really like that one, Albert. Great job there. Let's look at, I think I also have Time Weavers up too. Yeah, great. Okay. Another great one. So let's see here. Uh, am I remembering right that this is Rob? Yeah, okay. Rob, is Time Weavers an IP? Is it like an intellectual property? It seems like it based on this official board game, which is great. Very cool. Um, Feel free to answer that as you get a moment. Okay, fantastic. Cool. Sorry, I'm not familiar with it. Okay, so wonderful. This is like very clear. I like how straightforward and informative this key art is. Um, okay, very cool, Rob. So anybody that is a fan of Time Weavers will, see this and they will be interested in it, and want to scroll down to find out more information. If this was, not an official board game, for an IP that people were familiar with, okay, unique 1 to 4 player tabletop trading card game with co-op versus mode of balance solo campaign. So I'm getting the information that I need about this game from the right hand side over here. I love the colors, love the creatives on this. I think it hits a specific audience, like an anime loving audience, quite well. So well done there. Okay, let's look here. Um, Time Weavers is a 1 to 4 player board game when high school students kind of wonderful. Okay. Uh, so I like this. I love the use of a GIF. I think it's important. As I was saying before, would you mind if I looked at the actual campaign page, Rob? I think I looked at it before, but it wasn't quite so cool. Okay, awesome. I'll look at it and just know this is a space where we are working together to make sure that we can be as successful as we can, and um, there's no level of maturation that is unacceptable. So, oh yeah, this is great. I love the ghosting that you did on this image. It creates this sort of like ruin kind of it evokes an emotion about a little bit of like a messiness that is immersive. Um, I like the use of GIFs. I think it's really important. One thing you have to be really careful about when you're looking at Kickstarter is the compression on your GIFs. You want to keep them as like light and clean as possible so that the page loads quickly and the quality is good. Like this one's just a little fuzzy. I might play with compression to see what I can do. Actually, I don't know if anybody in here knows this, but WebM, if we can put WebM, that would be better. I'm not totally sure that WebM works, but um, that's just a much lighter file format to use. But watch the compression on GIFs. Um, yeah, so how to play Y back. So we're in our early stages here, but I think I really love that you're using banners. I really love the where you're starting with the graphics. I would say this is an opportunity. I would say this is a call in. Like, let's look at how we can create an immersive graphic that gives people the information they need about the game so that they can learn more about the lore. Um, but we want to make sure that the game is interesting to them. And okay, I see here it's a fantasy board game. It was TCG above, so work in progress. We're moving towards it. Um, but it would be great to be just super clear about what it is that we're looking at and how we can maximize the interest for backers that are coming in. So watch your GIF compression. I think you're off to a great start here. Be very brief with your texts wherever you can and use your creatives, lean on your creatives to tell the story of what the world is and the lore is, um, while you're still educating people about what the game itself is. That way you can get people really immersed and like bought into the game itself. Like the mechanics of the game, and then they'll be like, okay, cool. I know that I want to play this game. Now, what's it about? And they'll be willing to read a little bit more, a little bit farther down the page. But at that top of the page, we want to give them the information that they need to make sure that they know that they want to keep scrolling, and then we can sell them on the rest of it. Okay, let's see what else. What are the other campaigns? I think Pasta, which I love. It's a great name, by the way. Um, really fantastic. Um, Very cute creatives. Uh, and I think this is a cozy claymation cooking game. Like, great. I love the use of emojis. I think it, or the reactions, whatever we're calling them these days. Um, I think that kind of fits the brand of like very cozy, sort of cottage core vibe is really good. Yeah, we're starting right away with immersive with this rolling pin. to get people into it. Join Rigatoni the Mouse. Great. Cooking adventure, travel, mastering, yummy cuisines, Mycelin, Nana Relatives International. I did that very specifically. So those are all of the bolded words. And everybody uses bold to emphasize what it is that they want people to read. When I'm scrolling a Kickstarter page as a backer or as me, I'm reading those I'm reading those bolds more than I'm reading anything else by a lot. Like I'm over indexing into those bolds. So I want to make sure that everything that I'm bolding is hyper intentional. Like, is Rigatoni the Mouse's name as important as the fact that this is a cooking adventure that involves travel? And I just want to be really, really hyper specific about what I'm bolding and what I'm not, so that I'm sending a very clear message with everything. Like it's important to bear in mind that like this is your first marketing platform in some ways for your campaign. Anybody that's here that's listening, I'm still here. Sorry. I get cut off after 30 minutes, but I'm coming back. This is your first marketing platform. And for a lot of people, this will be the only thing that people will see before they make a purchasing decision for your game. Everything that we do on this pre launch page, on the launch page, needs hyper intentionality. So, careful with your bolding. Just make sure that what you're bolding is exactly what you want people to read, because many of them will only read those bolts. Yep, love that we keep the rolling pin thing going. I think that's a really, really nice touch. Um, let's see, we have videos for video games. Very, very important. Like, great that you have that. It's important to show people that you have stuff. I would say here, very small. I'm not a graphic designer, but graphic design note, you've got something centered and then something left. I would try to, you have two headings, one centered, one left. Either add some visual space in between those two, or center both, or left both, left align both. But really good. I love the GIF here. This is a great use of like a small, efficient GIF. It doesn't really take away from the image quality, but it does add some visual interest to the page. Really, really great. Um, yeah, again, really great. You less of a GIF issue. Yeah, this is a very, very cute Kickstarter. Notify me on that one. Um, really love the paper craft. You're really kind of showing the creative elements of this game in a way that's very meaningful to people. And I think that they will react very positively to. You are showing how variable, like, it seems like, Harry, you understand what it is about your game that differentiates it from other games. And a big part of that is the creatives. So great job there. We're linking to an early demo that is absolutely wonderful. Yeah, that's exactly right. React positively. Uh, Having a demo of a video game is huge. Great. Regional music. That's very cool. Oh, and you're even sharing some of it. Okay. This is a great page for a follow. This is wonderful. I think you're off to a really great start. I would say if you have the opportunity to work on the graphic design, it would be really cool. Like I'm not a super creative human being, but one thing that I might be like, what if the rolling pins were rolling out dough and the dough was where all of the text below the rolling pin headers lived? Right? Like, could we create this sort of larger, broader graphic that encompasses some of this um, text that you have on the page, so that you have more control over the typeface, like the typography and the positioning of all of this stuff? I think that can make a really big difference in making people feel like they are in the game, they are experiencing the game through the campaign page. Adding a graphic like that, instead of just having the sort of the text and then more pictures and then text and then pictures, if we can wrap it all together in something that really makes us feel like we are experiencing what it will be like to work with Rigatoni, uh, I think you'd be in really good shape here. Okay, let's look at one more, and then we will go back to the questions because there were a bunch of questions too. Okay, let's see. It looks like the next one that they told us about that I was informed of is Gauntlet Runner. So we'll look at that one. Um, and any of you that have submitted a page that we don't get an opportunity to look at live on this, um, please know that we're happy to look at your campaign page at any point, games@kickstarter.com. So, like Shenzhou, I don't know that we'll get to Shenzhou. We'll try to. But if you want to talk more about your campaign page and what we think, more than happy to do that with you. So please don't feel like we won't be able to help you out. I want my team to be very accessible. So don't feel left out. We will be here for you. Okay, let's look at Gauntlet Runner. 5e turned hardcore. Okay, this is my sort of home base. My first Kickstarter was a 5e book. So this is what started it all for me. It looks like you've done 5 campaigns at this point, so we have some experience with it. I like the graphic. It tells a story that is very specific. We're taking a very strong divergence from pasta, but I think variety is the spice of life. No, I like this image. I like the sketch art. I think it speaks to the audience, very well. Yeah, okay. Great example. This graphic is creepy and hardcore in a way that fits what the campaign will be very, very well. So much like the Starfinder game, this is very visually interesting, but also really immersive. Like I'm a little freaked out. Maybe I like that and I want to look more. Um, so, and we're telling hardcore dungeons, highly anticipated campaign. Gauntlet Runner, you've got this sort of like 80s Conan kind of vibe to the game, which I think is will really hit the right audience. You're sort of, I think, touching a little bit on the OSR community, which I think is good. Yeah, you're a runner. Gladiator meets Dark Souls. Perfect. That's a great way to frame things for people that you're introducing them is to make statements like this. We all, most people that are playing 5e know both what Dark Souls is and what Gladiator is. So that sort of mashup, now I have a really good, a really strong sense of what it is that we're looking at here. So I really love that you've positioned it that way in a way that's very easy to understand. Yep. Great creatives. Love that you're adding visual interest to the sides and bottoms of your images. Really great. Yeah, exclusive bonus. Okay. So this launch boom page. Yeah. Okay. Great. So this is a launch boom page, advertising to it. So those two things can go back and forth with one another. Um, That's a great question. As we're scrolling through this, should I still launch a crowdfunding project if I don't have many followers? It depends on what your goals are. I will get to that question in a second, though, because I think it deserves a little bit of time. Um, Love this high challenge, high intensity. Bleed for the City of Mazes, wonderful. You're getting me into the lore, but you're not getting me into the lore too early. I think this is what I was talking about earlier, right? You're sort of introducing me to the game. I understand what it is. I'm interested. I'm scrolling. Now I'm ready to learn more about the lore of the game itself, which is really, really great. Looks like we've got some influencers that are working. That we're working with here with this campaign. So that's yeah, like I said earlier, I think there's many different ways to approach pre-launch. So we have Launch Boom and influencers here. Yeah, this is very important for RPG campaigns, and I think all campaigns to a certain extent. Like we want to be very explicit with what it is that we are providing in the campaign. Um, so 8 hardcore dungeons, that's exactly what we want to see. We've got our suggested levels. That's great. Competition mode between players. Wow. That's interesting. That's another thing to bring into this campaign. Definitely great art again. We're scrolling. Yeah. So now we're getting really into exactly what it is that we're looking at from a product perspective, right? So we've been sold on exactly what it is we're looking at, and why we might be interested in it, and only then can we get to the place where we are um, getting nightmares from Null Nell Devourer of Dreams. Looks like he has finger legs. Okay, yeah, this is a great campaign page. I think um, it's really solid. I think this first graphic, if we can kind of continue to emulate what we're doing here with um, other things, other campaigns, or other graphics on the page, rather, not other campaigns. Um, I think we're in a really good place. But this is great. I love the way that you framed everything and the verbiage that you're using. I think it's really effective. Would just love to see this visual immersion exist a little bit more consistently throughout. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Like I said, if I did not get to your campaign specifically, no problem. Email us at games@kickstarter.com. We are here to help. And that is true for any of you, no matter what. So I want to get back to some questions. Let's talk about that crowdfunding project question. I think it's really good. Um, so I think the functional reality is Albert is mostly right. Kickstarter's audience is accelerant to your campaign's fire, as it were. It is not a fire starter. So, when I look at campaigns, generally speaking, I see Kickstarter bring an audience of between 20 and 45-ish% of your campaign will come from Kickstarter. Like people that are just browsing and discovering, and that is proportional. So it's very rare that I will see a campaign be very successful and not like where the audience is not brought at all by the campaign creator. So if you don't have a lot of followers, build those followers. Albert is mostly right. If you want this to be a wildly successful, like you're trying to quit your job and start a games company, then we want to be really cognizant of understanding like when I do my projections for Kickstarter campaigns that I'm running myself, and I haven't done one since I started here, but I've done enough of them. I always build a big projection sheet. That projection sheet is um, very much focused on the number of pre-launch followers that I have. Like that's the base number that I base all of my projections off of. And so that's the number that is most important. So average number of followers you should have before starting a campaign. Yep, Albert's exactly right. It depends on how much money you need, right? So like if you're trying to quit your job and make this a whole company, like that's something else entirely. Then I really just want this project to come to life. Like I want to see it made. I want to see it exist in the world. So like I've heard people say just like 1,000, but that's an arbitrary number. So you will convert 20 to 40% of your pre-launch followers. You'll get more followers during the campaign, but generally speaking, you're going to convert 20 to 40%. So consider your marketing budget, your COGS, your cost of goods sold, including freight, because unless you plan on building that into the cost of your shipping, but understand what your costs are, understand what your margins are. I do an optimistic margin and a realistic margin, I call it. I just build in 25% of budget that I basically am accounting for forgetting, like things that I need to do that I'm forgetting that I have to pay for. Um, but make sure, yeah. So my projection spreadsheet, generally speaking, it's every item that's in the campaign. It's the unit cost of that item with the freight to land it. I usually just kind of hand wave. It's going to cost 20%. It's going to add 20% of the cost to do freight. To get it to my distribution or fulfillment provider. And then I take those and I bundle those individual items into tiers. And those tiers I then price out based on what my target margin is. Some people do it a little bit differently. They just take their COGS plus freight and they add six, like they multiply it by six. I try to take a little bit more of a traditional approach, I guess, where I'm really trying to understand what my COGS are, what my target margin is for the campaign. And then I use that and I take those tiers and then I base off what I understand to be true about basic backer distribution, right? So Like we know that 50% of your backers, generally speaking, these are all kind of hand wavy numbers. So it's not an exact science, but generally speaking, 50% of your audience will back it at what I would call your economical tier, right? It's just kind of the base tier. It's the game and nothing more, right? If it's a video game, it's like one copy of the game. If it's a board game, it's just the regular base game copy, no extras. RPG, same thing. And then from there, you will get, between 5 and 10% will back at your highest tier. Depends on how many tiers you have. But I kind of build a backer distribution that I can play with the percentages that people back. And I look at similar campaigns and see what their distribution is of the backers across tiers. That will then calculate my average pledge value to see if I need to tweak any of the numbers or the value propositions in my tiers. And then I'll start with that pre-launch follower number. I'll put in a conversion rate of between 20 and 40%. And then I will add things like 10 to 20% of your campaign will come from paid ad revenue. 20 to 30% will come from just Kickstarter discovery, and so on and so forth. Like influencers, if I'm using them, it'll be between 5 and 30%. That's a much more kind of hard to peg down conversion number. And so I take all of that together and I can look at a projection. And again, I will do like a very conservative projection, like what's the lowest that this could be, and then something that is perhaps a little more realistic or even optimistic, just so I have a good sense of, what would be involved. Okay. I hope that was helpful. I know that was a ton of information. Hopefully, this is recorded for you guys. I think it is. Um, Okay, does it make sense to run pre-campaign ads in your case? It depends. Look at your ROAS. If you have money in a marketing budget where you can run pre-campaign ads, just pay attention to your cost per lead, and consider that cost per lead is sort of fixed to a certain extent, and then that lead will convert at 20 to 40%. So there's some math that you have to do there. But if you do that math, you might be able to find out that it is economically reasonable for you to do it. So it's hard to say blanket. I would say probably yes, but it depends on what your specific situation is. Average amount of followers you should have before starting a campaign, totally up to like what it's going to cost for you to make the project happen. I think I touched on that. Any tips for selling children's games to parents? Interesting. Um, yeah, you're selling games to parents. Your target market is parents. Don't forget. It's like the dog food marketing industry. Um, Dog food is marketed to people, not dogs. If it were marketed to dogs, it would be way less appealing to people. So, not that I'm equating children to dogs. My daughter Sydney would not be super happy if I did that. But um, it's uh it's it's worth talking about. Like it's all about how you position it. Make sure that the parents understand the benefits of the game for their children, or why they would want their children to do it. Okay. If I want to create a Kickstarter campaign page for my digital game, is it better to have the demo up on Steam while the campaign is running or not? It is always better to have the demo up on Steam. 100% have a demo if you can, period. You will make more money. Okay. Is there a difference in best practices between launching a role playing game, a board game, and a themed tarot deck? Yes, there is. That's a really great question. They all, generally speaking, are the same, but you will notice more. You will notice more differences. So, board games, generally speaking, from just like a product perspective, when you look at like a board game versus an RPG, for instance, a board game is generally speaking going to have like a base game. It might have a deluxe game. If it's like a first couple campaigns and you just kind of want to get your feet wet, don't worry about having a bunch of different tiers and all that. Just throw the game out there and do your marketing. But generally speaking, if you look at best practices, a board game will have a base game, a deluxe game. Maybe they will have some mini expansions. And then there will be the sort of all-in tier. Then it's some exclusives, just extra accoutrement, what have you. RPGs take that to the nth degree. If we look at a company like Loot Tavern or even like Limithron, who does Pirate Borg, or Kelsey Dion, with Shadow Dark. You know, those are very accoutrement laden games. It's all about those accessories. Accessories tend to do really well with the audience because it's so immersive when you're at the table to have the matching dice and to have the matching thing. No, 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 no. We, when I did a campaign, we did. I'll show you. I just remodeled my office, so it's not hung yet. We made hand pressed vinyl. This was a mistake. Don't do this. We lost a ton of money on this, but it was really cool and people really liked it. So RPGs really like accoutrement. Um, Tarot, generally speaking, a little bit more straightforward, right? We'll have like a the deck itself. It's usually they are already premium editions of the deck, and then beyond that, you'll also find some people will have like a pamphlet that comes along with it, or a lore book, or suggestions, or something along those lines. But instantiating what those products are, generally speaking, there are best practices for each. I think in all cases, make sure that your margins are in line with the needs of you and your fledgling business. Because like we didn't do that with that record, and we had a very big bill that we had to pay as a result of it because we did not consider how much it would cost extra to ship those things and what the cost was given like an MOQ, a minimum order quantity, if it wasn't a super popular add-on. So be as responsible as you can if you're going to add a bunch of accoutrement for something like an RPG campaign. Okay, I'm going to try to get through as many of these as I can in the next 7 minutes. What to do if your project is inexplicably rejected? Email us, games@kickstarter.com. Easy one. Just shoot us an email and we will do our best to help you understand what's happening. Are there underutilized campaign tools within and outside of Kickstarter that creators should lean into more? Great question. Updates. Early creators don't really index far enough into updates, I think, especially now that they're pre launch. Engage your audience. This is a journey that they are going on with you. And if you can engage them and make them feel warm and fuzzy, you are building your champions for every product that you make from here on out. Make sure that they're coming along in the journey with you. Really, really important. That's the biggest one. I'm sure that there are others. The functional reality is everybody has a million different ways to do everything in crowdfunding. Ask around. My answer, updates. Okay, let's see. Any exciting tips? Any exciting tips about keeping excitement going during the campaign? I have a theory that we have indexed so far into optimizing pre-launch with companies like LaunchBoom and BackerKit to some degree that there's actually a lot of room for. I don't want to use this word, but like innovation in the mid-campaign slump. So I think that it's very possible to keep momentum going, but I think you have to plan it out ahead. You know, we plan our pre-launch marketing so far ahead. It's like, okay, I'm going to run ads. Here are my creatives. I have this pre-launch page set up. I'm going to do all of these things. And then we hit the mid-campaign slump. And then we're kind of like, oh, I need to do something about this. I'm very stressed out about it. And then we scramble. I think it's all about intentionality in mid-campaign. Some people use influencers. It's a great moment to get influencers excited about the campaign and get their audiences engaged. You can talk to other creators about, you know, being on their mailing list, right? When we look at like RPG communities and board game communities of similar types of games, they're very often like open to sharing one another's success. Um, there's a question about meta ads, best place to do board game advertisement. I would say that yes, unfortunately, because that's going to hit Instagram as well, highly visual medium, and there's a ton of huge board gaming groups on Facebook. So I would say the answer to that question is yes. I have seen some people have some success with TikTok, but I think there's still some room there for growth. But mid-campaign excitement, definitely try new things. You will have kind of established a trench in pre-launch. Mix it up in the mid-campaign. Okay, answered that one. Let's see. Digital campaign only or not? Seems our community wants physical goodies, but it's our first Kickstarter, so we're terrified of fulfillment and so on. You guys are a video game, so it's a little bit different of an answer. I think perfectly reasonable to do digital only. I would say a lot of people don't want to do don't want to do physical because they're afraid of it, and digital is so much easier, especially when you're in the video game space. You'll hear a lot of people be like, do not do physical. Like, you're a digital company, why would you do that to yourself? I think there's a lot of reason to. When we look at an audience, take a look at your audience, see what it is that they might want, see what it is that it would cost to do it. There are great fulfillment providers out there that can help you. Don't feel like it is just, you know, essential that you follow this like strict prescriptivism of another organization. If your audience is saying, like, hey, we actually would really like this physical product of some kind, as long as it's not going to, you know, meaningfully tank your margins, um, it's worth considering. It does add some stress. It adds overhead, just like mental overhead and actual monetary overhead. Um, but in a lot of cases, it's worth it. For a video game, I would look and see what uh, Evershine, my time at Evershine did. Look at what Critivo does. I think they do good stuff in terms of like offering physical stuff. What do you find is too many updates too few? I'll just one question left, maybe. I'll try to get to two, maybe. Um, uh, what do you find is too many updates or too few? A lot of people are worried that if they post too many updates, that people will cancel. There's not a lot of data to support that, and that is coming out of fear. Um, if somebody was going to cancel because they backed and then they had an update come out and they canceled it, I don't, they probably would have canceled at some point anyway. They wouldn't act out of fear too specifically in that way. Generally, when I do campaigns, I do like every 3 days, every 2, 3 days. We don't want to go like every day. It gets a little just overbearing maybe, but um, every 2 or 3 days, I think is a good timeline. Oh, that's what Albert said too. We're right there. We're there together. Okay. I will try to answer this one last question here. Um, have 5e D&D books declined a lot? Are they still a strong and viable option? Yes. There is an audience for everything, and 5e books can do quite well. You know, huge community of people that are playing lots of different games. Don't feel pigeonholed into making 5e, but if you want to make 5e, absolutely. It is perfectly viable and perfectly reasonable. Um, and I think that you can do quite well. We had some really great standout 5e games this year. There was the um, um, Splattered Ink Games did like a Jurassic Park themed one. Loot Tavern did one earlier this year. I think Hit Point Press might have done a really great 5e campaign. Obviously, last year we saw Floral Dragons kind of go crazy. And we've got a couple coming up that I think will do really well too. So there's like what Void Sea is doing on their pre-launch. So yeah, I think it's perfectly reasonable. Okay, I think that's all the time we have. Yvonne, you wanna wrap us up here?
Yeah, thanks so much, Asher. Super insightful. So with that, that concludes our live office hours for today. Thanks so much for joining. We hope this session has been helpful for you as you plan your next project on Kickstarter. Keep an eye out on your inbox. I will be sending out a link to the office hours recording, along with resources for helping you plan your next games project. You'll also receive our monthly newsletter packed with the latest product updates, tips, resources, and details on upcoming webinars, just like this one. And if you'd like to stay connected with us, you can always reach out to the games team through our games Discord channel or by emailing games@kickstarter.com, which you should see on the screen here. We'd also love your feedback. After the session, please take a moment to fill out our short post-event survey. Your input will help us decide if we should host more office hours like this in the future. Thanks again for being here, and we can't wait to see the projects you'll bring to life on Kickstarter. Bye, y'all.